Pho is a Vietnamese noodle soup consisting of broth, linguine-shaped rice noodles called bánh pho, a few herbs, and meat. Pho is a popular street food in Vietnam and the specialty of a number of restaurant chains around the world. It is primarily served with either beef or chicken. The Hanoi and Saigon styles of pho differ by noodle width, sweetness of broth, and choice of herbs. The origin of pho and its name is a subject of scholarly debate. A related beef noodle soup, bánh is associated with Hanoi in central Vietnam. History: Pho originated in the early 20th century in northern Vietnam, apparently southeast of Hanoi in Nam Anh province, then a substantial textile market. The traditional home of pho is reputed to be the villages of Va Cent En Ca to the first and Dao Ca to the first in Aang Xua Cent En Commune, Nam Tra ±C district, Nam Anh province. According to villagers, pho was eaten in Va Cent En Ca to the first long before the French colonial period when it was popularized. Pho was originally sold at dawn and dusk by roaming street vendors, who shouldered mobile kitchens on carrying poles. From the pole hung two wooden cabinets, one housing a cauldron over a wood fire, the other storing noodles, spices, cookware, and space to prepare a bowl of pho. Pho vendors kept their heads warm with distinctive, disheveled felt hats called Ma copyright pho. Hanoi's first two fixed pho stands were a Vietnamese-owned Car Thi de Griong on Car Section U Ga Street and a Chinese-owned stand in front of Ba Ha tram stop. They were joined in 1918 by two more on Quay T Row and Aang Row. Around 1925, a Va Cent En Ca to the first villager named Va En opened the first Nam Anh-style pho stand in Hanoi. Ga Nh Pho declined in number around 1936 1946 in favor of stationary eateries. Development. In the late 1920s, various vendors experimented with Hoang Lau, sesame oil, tofu, and even Lethosaurus indicus extract. This Pho Car Pound I degree Ng failed to enter the mainstream. Pho Ta, served with beef cooked rare, had been introduced by 1930. Chicken pho appeared in 1939, possibly because beef was not sold at the markets on Mondays and Fridays at the time. With the partition of Vietnam in 1954, over 1 million people fled North Vietnam for the South. Pho, previously unpopular in the South, suddenly took off. No longer confined to northern culinary traditions, variations in meat and broth appeared, and additional garnishes, such as lime, bean sprouts, culantro, cinnamon basil, and hoisin sauce, became standard fare. Pho Ta also began to rival fully cooked Pho Cauen in popularity. Meanwhile, in North Vietnam, private pho restaurants were nationalized and began serving pho noodles made from old rice, while street vendors were expected to use noodles made of imported potato flour. During the so-called subsidy period following the Vietnam War, state-owned pho eateries served a meatless variety of the dish known as pilotless pho, in reference to the U.S. Air Force's unmanned reconnaissance drones. The broth consisted of boiled water with MSG added for taste, as there were often shortages on various foodstuffs like meat and rice during that period. Bread or cold rice was often served as a side dish, leading to the present-day practice of dipping Quay copyright Y in pho. Globalization. In the aftermath of the Vietnam War, Vietnamese refugees brought pho to many countries. Restaurants specializing in pho appeared in numerous Asian enclaves and little Saigons, such as in Paris and in major cities in Canada, the United States, and Australia. In the United States, pho began to enter the mainstream during the 1990s, as relations between the U.S. and Vietnam improved. At that time Vietnamese restaurants began opening quickly in Texas and California, spreading rapidly along the Gulf and West Coasts, as well as the East Coast and the rest of the country. During the 2000s, pho restaurants in the United States generated $500 a million in annual revenue, according to an unofficial estimate. Pho can now be found in cafeterias at many college and corporate campuses, especially on the West Coast. The word pho was added to the shorter Oxford English Dictionary in 2007. Pho is listed at number 28 on World's 50 Most Delicious Foods compiled by CNN Go in 2011. Etymology and origins. Reviews of 19th and 20th century Indo-Chinese literature have found that pho entered the mainstream sometime in the 1910s. Georges de Mautier's extensive 1907 account of Vietnamese cuisine omits any mention of pho, while Nguyen Hoan recalls its sale by street vendors in 1913. A 1931 dictionary is the first to define pho as a soup, from the word pho yen, a dish consisting of small slices of rice cake boiled with beef. Possibly the earliest English-language reference to pho was in the book Recipes of All Nations, edited by Countess Morphy in 1935. In the book, pho is described as an Vietnamese soup held in high esteem. Made with beef, a veal bone, onions, a bay leaf, salt, and pepper, and a small teaspoon of nuoc mam. There are two prevailing theories on the origin of the word pho and, by extension, the dish itself. As author Nguyen Dai Degree notes, both questions are significant to Vietnamese identity. From French. French settlers commonly ate beef, whereas Vietnamese traditionally ate pork and chicken and used cattle as beasts of burden. Gustave Hue equates carne pho to the French beef stew pot or feu. Accordingly, Western sources generally maintain that pho is derived from pot or feu in both name and substance. However, various scholars dispute this etymology on the basis of the stark differences between the two dishes. Ironically, pho has long been pronounced pho in French. In Jean Tardio's letter de Hanoi à Roger Martin du Gard, a soup vendor cries pho a in the street. Many Hanoians explain that the word pho derives from French soldiers ordering pho from pho, referring to both the steam rising from a bowl of pho and the wood fire seen glowing from a pho in the evening. Food historian Erica J. Peters argues that the French have embraced pho in a way that overlooks its origins as a local improvisation, reinforcing an idea that the French brought modern ingenuity to a traditionalist Vietnam. From Cantonese, Hue and Yuga Nguyen both define pho by itself as an abbreviation of La Yen Si Pho. Elucidating on the 1931 dictionary, Nguyen and Lan Ga Si Tra Yen both give La Yen Si Pho as a corruption of Ngay degree Unha Si Pho Yen, which was commonly sold by Chinese immigrants in Hanoi. Some scholars argue that pho evolved from Zao Tra Cent U, a Vietnamese dish common in Hanoi at the turn of the century. Originally eaten by commoners near the Red River, it consisted of stir-fried strips of water buffalo meat served in broth atop rice vermicelli. Around 1908 to 1909, the shipping industry brought an influx of laborers. Vietnamese and Chinese cooks set up Ga-nh to serve them Zao Tra Cent U but later switched to inexpensive scraps of beef set aside by butchers who sold to the French. Chinese vendors advertised this Zao Ba squared by crying out, beef and noodles. Eventually the street cry became meat and noodles, with the last syllable elongated. The French author Jean-Marc spells it yoc feu. In his 1990 novel Du Village à la Cité copyright. This is likely what the Vietnamese poet Ta Pound Naa calls Nhanc Pho Naanh Bar C, written around 1915–1917. Ingredients and preparation. Pho is served in a bowl with a specific cut of white rice noodles in clear beef broth, with slim cuts of beef. Variations feature tendon, tripe, or meatballs in southern Vietnam. Chicken pho is made using the same spices as beef, but the broth is made using only chicken bones and meat, as well as some internal organs of the chicken, such as the heart, the undeveloped eggs and the gizzard. Broth. The broth for beef pho is generally made by simmering beef bones, oxtails, flank steak, charred onion, charred ginger and spices. For a more intense flavor, the bones may still have beef on them. Chicken bones also work and produce a similar broth. Seasonings can include Saigon cinnamon or other kinds of cinnamon as alternatives, star anise, roasted ginger, roasted onion, black cardamom, coriander seed, fennel seed, and clove. The broth takes several hours to make. For chicken pho, only the meat and bones of the chicken are used in place of beef and beef bone. The remaining spices remain the same, but the charred ginger can be omitted, since its function in beef pho is to subdue the quite strong smell of beef. The spices, often wrapped in cheesecloth or soaking bag to prevent them from floating all over the pot, usually contain clove, star anise, coriander seed, fennel, cinnamon, black cardamom, ginger and onion. Careful cooks often roast ginger and onion over an open fire for about a minute before adding them to the stock, to bring out their full flavor. They also skim off all the impurities that float to the top while cooking. This is the key to a clear broth. Nade is added toward the end. Garnishes. Vietnamese dishes are meals typically served with lots of greens, herbs, vegetables, and various other accompaniments, such as dipping sauces, hot and spicy pastes, and a squeeze of lime or lemon juice. It may also be served with hoisin sauce. The dish is garnished with ingredients such as green onions, white onions, Thai basil, fresh Thai chili peppers, lemon or lime wedges, bean sprouts, and cilantro or culantro. Fish sauce, hoisin sauce and sriracha, a chili sauce, may be added to taste as accompaniments. Several ingredients not generally served with pho may be ordered by request. Extra fatty broth can be ordered and comes with scallions to sweeten it. A popular side dish ordered upon request is Hanoi or vinegared white onions. Regional variants. The several regional variants of pho in Vietnam, particularly divided between Northern pho and Southern pho, or Saigon pho. Northern pho tends to use somewhat wider noodles and much more green onion, and garnishes offered generally include only vinegar, fish sauce and chili sauce. On the other hand, Southern Vietnamese pho broth is slightly sweeter and has bean sprouts and a greater variety of fresh herbs. The variations in meat, broth, and additional garnishes such as lime, bean sprouts, nga squared gai, ha ng quay, and Thai degree ng anan, Thai degree ngat appear to be innovations made by or introduced to the South. Southerners eat pho for breakfast and occasionally lunch, whereas Northerners eat pho at any time of day. International variants include pho made using tofu and vegetable broth for vegetarians, and a larger variety of vegetables, such as carrots and broccoli. Many pho restaurants in the United States offer oversized helpings with names such as train pho, airplane pho, or California pho. In some parts of the United States, fresh bánh pho is not widely available. Dried noodles called bánh pho are often used instead. Some restaurants may serve bánh pho Thai degree upon request. Pho has been adopted by other Southeast Asian cuisines, including Hmong cuisine. Notable restaurants, in Ho Chi Minh City, well-known restaurants include Pho Y Hector Square de Pasteur, Pho Y 2000, which U.S. President Bill Clinton visited in 2000. Pho Y Ta, owned by Madame Nguyen Cao Car Cubed. And Pho Y Bar NH, where American soldiers dined as via T-Car and registered trademark NG agents planned the Ta T offensive just upstairs. One of the largest restaurant chains in Vietnam is Pho 24, a subsidiary of Highlands Coffee, with 60 locations in Vietnam and 20 abroad. The largest pho chain in the United States is Pho Y Hector Square de, with over 70 locations in 7 countries. Related dishes, aside from pho, many other Vietnamese dishes make use of pho noodles, including stir-fried pho, sautéed pho, and sour pho. Other popular Vietnamese noodle dishes include bánh riu, bánh ba square tui, bánh car pound, ha section tiau, bánh 13 degree ng, and ma quay pound ng. See also: Vietnamese cuisine, bánh ma. List of Vietnamese culinary specialities, list of Vietnamese dishes. References